When I meet someone new and tell them I'm from India, one of the first questions they ask me is, "Oh, don't you love spicy food?" It makes me feel amused and annoyed at the same time. That may be because I'm insecure about my spice tolerance, or maybe because it indicates that Indian food is one note. Indian food is widely loved in the US, and this is just one of the myths out there. Today I'm covering 5 myths about Indian food. Number 5. Naan. Naan is not the only type of bread found in Indian cuisine. In fact, the type of bread varies vastly by region and even determines the consistency of the sauce. The type of bread that you're eating is very specific to the dish that it's served with. Naan complements butter chicken perfectly because the chewy texture of the naan is perfect with the buttery, velvety sauce of the butter chicken. The flavors complement each other instead of competing with each other. Special occasions called for luchi in my Calcutta home. Luchi is the standard bread of celebrations. The bread is very simple. The dough is just made by mixing flour and water, but the process behind kneading it and cooking it is what makes it special. Luchi can be served with a variety of dishes. One of the most popular dishes it's served with is called aloo dum, and it's basically potatoes cooked in a spiced tomato sauce. It's what Bengalis' dreams are made of. A staple in North Indian breakfast is called a paratha. A paratha presents yet another way of cooking bread. In this case, the dough is stuffed with a spiced potato filling and it's cooked on a flat pan until the edges are roasted and golden. Then, ghee or butter is added to this paratha to make it luscious and flaky and delicious. It's usually served with plain yogurt and pickle so that you can go back and forth between the two flavors. Number 4. Rice and bread together. The one thing that I never serve together at my pop-up is rice and bread. Rice and bread aren't usually served together in an Indian meal. That's not to say that there aren't any Indian meals where you can eat rice and bread together. However, it's not the norm. It's quite different in Indian restaurants in the US, where you can get rice and bread with one main dish. And what I've often seen is people tearing a piece of bread, picking up rice with it, dipping it in the sauce to make a bite and put it into their mouth. That doesn't make sense to me. Why would we do that? I'm not sure why this is a common practice in restaurants in the US. If I ordered rice and bread in one meal, I would pair it with different dishes. There are many factors that go into determining whether you pair a dish with rice or bread. One such factor is the consistency of the sauce. If the sauce is thick and hearty, you want to pair it with a bread to be the perfect utensil to scoop up the sauce and put it in your mouth. If the sauce is thinner in consistency, then rice is the perfect vehicle for delivery. The next time you go to an Indian restaurant, my advice to you is not to use the bread to pick up the rice. Instead, order 2 different dishes with 2 different consistencies so you can experience the difference for yourself. Number 3. Seafood. The one component of my pop-up menus that people were often surprised by was seafood. Someone even said to me that they didn't associate Indian food with seafood. That's really surprising to me because I grew up eating seafood every day. My grandfather would go to the market bright and early to bring fresh seafood that would be cooked for lunch that day. I ate seafood for lunch every day other than Sundays when I was growing up in Calcutta. If you walk into your neighborhood Indian restaurant, chances are you won't see seafood on the menu, unless it's one of those mix and match proteins that you can pair with the tikka masala sauce. India is surrounded by ocean on 3 of its 4 sides. So unless you're in a landlocked part of India, seafood is a staple. Seafood, like any other ingredient, is cooked in varied ways across the different regions of India. India also has a dense network of rivers. These rivers provide a rich source of seafood and livelihood for the surrounding areas. It's funny how you crave the very things in adulthood that you despise as a child. I remember my disappointment at lunch every day when there was seafood, yet I would do anything to get a taste of home now. Bengalis can eat seafood at any time of day. It can be lunch, it can be dinner, sometimes it's a snack between lunch and dinner. It's deep fried and dipped into this mustard sauce. It's common in small neighborhood joints across the city. Number 2, heavy and rich. If you ask a stranger on the street what comes to mind when they think of Indian food, they'll probably describe a rich, heavy sauce with chicken paired with a fluffy, soft bread like naan. While certainly that's a style that's prevalent in Indian cuisine, it's not it in its entirety. Most of the Indian food that you get in the US is either North Indian or South Indian. There's nothing in between. I can't find Bengali food, and I've searched almost everywhere. India is a large, diverse country with hyper-local flavors. It's very difficult to represent all those flavors in a 15-item menu. That's why I barely featured some of these very popular Indian dishes in my pop-up restaurant menu. I was taking the risk of trying something unfamiliar with an audience that didn't know me or my food. However, I was willing to take that risk to show people what real Indian food is. Number 1, it has to be spicy. Contrary to popular belief, my spice tolerance is not that high. In fact, my fiance's spice tolerance, who grew up in California, is higher than mine.
I'm Ross McIntyre. Welcome to Jackass. It's hot, but it's shockingly mild.
If you think about it, Bengali food is not known for its spiciness like some other regional Indian food. In fact, a pinch of sugar is added to almost every dish to balance out the flavors. It doesn't make the dish sweet. Of course, there are Bengali dishes that are meant to be hot and spicy. However, I want people to understand that heat is just one of the dimensions, and it really adds nuance to the dish versus taking over your taste buds and making the experience less enjoyable. Eating Indian food should not feel like an appearance on Hot Ones.
That's hot.
The lime, does that work?
The reason why this is at the top of my list is because I hear it so often that Indian food is spicy. Yes, some Indian food is spicy, but not all Indian food is spicy. And even the spicy Indian food has a lot of depth of flavor. Spice is not the only component. You can still taste all the other ingredients that went into creating this wonderful dish. Food is an adventure, an exploration, and an easy way to understand people and the cultures that are different from you. As Anthony Bourdain said, I've long believed that good food, good eating is all about risk. Whether we're talking about unpasteurized Stilton, raw oysters, or working for organized crime associates, food for me has always been an adventure. Like this video and subscribe to my channel if you want to dive into the depths of Indian cuisine.